Nice. Today is a special episode because, to quote Mama Ru, aka RuPaul, with extra special guest David Bethio Barnes. Say hello to my audience.
Hello, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's great to be here.
So please introduce yourself to my audience.
Sure, absolutely. So, for those of you who don't know me, which is probably most people, I am a writer and a film producer, and I've written many novels and stage plays and screenplays, and I've produced about 40 different movies.
Cool. And you're a horror writer, and like I don't watch many horror movies, but
Yes.
I do have some of my favorites, like Scream is one
Yeah.
of them. And I would say Saw, even though it's like very disgusting.
Yes. Yeah, I like those as well. I think my favorite horror film franchise is Halloween, the Halloween film franchise with Michael Myers as the great villain, and Jamie Lee Curtis, of course. But yeah, I love horror movies, and a lot of my favorites tend to be older films, and not all American made either. So, uh, but yeah, I love writing horror movies. I love producing them. I love seeing them. I love talking about them, of course. So yeah, it's um, I read a lot of horror when I was a young person, and I think that it was my first love as a reader was the horror genre, and then of course I watched horror movies growing up too. So I don't think it's any surprise that I grew up to write horror, spooky movies and spooky books, and help produce them too. So it makes a lot of sense for when I was younger.
And so since you're a writer, I wanted to like address the elephant in the room, and that's the WGA strike. So what is your
Oh,
take on that?
well, I definitely support it. I think writers need, like any other person who contributes to any other artist who contributes to the entertainment industry. Um, there's so many things to take into consideration for professional writers that are writing for film and television specifically. Streaming is, streaming networks and streaming content is has changed the way that writers' work is produced and presented in both of those mediums. And so I fully support it. I think it's a very important conversation to have, that writers, like anyone else, are compensated fairly for their work. And without a story and without a writer, you really don't have a movie or a TV series. You need the content and the story. And so I think the writers are not asking for anything out of the ordinary or extraordinary. I think they're asking for just equitable compensation, as they should. And yeah, I think, it's sometimes when you want a specific outcome or specific result, going to that necessary measure, in this case, a strike, to send that message and to create an impact in the film and TV industry is really their best option, because when it impacts an industry, especially a lucrative one like the entertainment industry, sometimes you have to do that to get the action and the results that you want. And so that's why I support it so much. And um, many of my colleagues and fellow writers and actors and people I've worked with for many years in the industry, they're down there on the front line with those signs in their hands to bring that message home. So I support it fully, and I hope it's resolved. I hope it's resolved soon, so we can all get back to production and the way that we are used to.
Exactly. Like I'm also so for it, and I'm so like glad to see some of my favorite like actors and voice actors like Ben Schwartz in front on the front line, like striking for his right or their rights. It just makes me so happy. Like please, like I want them to have equality and you know be able to make a living or like continue to making a living out of their passion. And
Mhm.
it's just like I'm just so for it. Like my heart is so full when I see like I said, Ben Schwartz at the front lines or other like John Mulaney or other like mostly voice actors.
Hmm.
Just I don't know, it just makes me fulfilled, I guess. Like it's like yes, like all for equality. And
Hmm.
also
Yes.
like it it kind of bothers me the fact that the streaming services won't be affected by this one,
Hmm.
but the networks will.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's I think though that it's going to have that ripple effect. I think that writers just in general within the entertainment industry, and sometimes it's the most thankless position out there because writers are very low on the totem pole.
Mhm.
They're not out front, they're not on camera, they're not celebrities necessarily, so people don't know who they are. They can go to the grocery store without people knowing who they are, but they're writing hit TV shows. Um, but to your point, yes, I mean, I feel like yes, the objective here is really clear, and there's a lot of centered focus and talk conversation about network TV. But I feel like any of those changes are going to impact all of the avenues that writers write for, which is so important. But to my point earlier, I was talking about how the writer's career has changed so much in the last few
Mhm.
years because of streaming content, and so there's different considerations for writers, and there's different considerations for writers' pay because of how um, the content is produced now. It's like there's so many streaming outlets now where when I was growing up many years ago, we only had a handful of networks, which most of them are still around to this day. But now
Mhm.
there's so many more platforms for content.
Yes.
And there's a greater demand for writers because of that for original content. But um, I think writers, like anyone else, just want to be paid accordingly for their work on network and streaming.
Yeah, like I think the last strike was 100 something days, and I like that affected many TV shows and movies. Like
Mhm.
I
Yes.
believe it was, I don't remember if it was Game of Thrones or something, but one of the seasons was like delayed because of that. But I do get that, but I'm still, like I said, I'm still for it. And as I know, like it can be very annoying for a consumer like myself,
Yeah.
but it's necessary. Like they have to be treated equally.
Yes, I agree. And any writer listening to this would appreciate that a lot too. So writing is very rewarding in many ways,
Hmm.
but it is a lot of work. And I think unless for people who aren't storytellers for a living or for their career or their craft, I think it's hard sometimes to understand the value of that, of coming up with original ideas and how much work goes into writing, especially for TV, of the revisions of how many times you have to revise the same episode or the same script. Um, it's a lot of work. It's late hours, it's long hours, it's not seeing your family sometimes for very long. I mean, it's a lot of stuff, but it's worth it because I think storytelling is a gift, and I think a lot of the people who were given that gift and do something with it. Um, I think you make a decision at some point that if you're going to do it professionally, that there are certain
Hmm.
sacrifices you're going to make personally, sometimes just because the hours are so non-conventional and so forth. But it's so worth it. It really is. It's a can be a very rewarding career.
I do agree. Like I am also writing my first book, like it's a sci-fi book, and I totally like can relate to you seeing it's so it can be very overwhelming at times because
Mhm.
you're like, okay, like, well, how can I express something this way? But then there are like so many other ideas, so it's very hard for me to be calm and collected and then be like, okay, I want this book to be this direction, to take it to this direction and to the other direction, and then, but it's still like something I love doing, and
Mhm.
it's also like my baby, so I'm kind of like very protective of it, and so I don't really want to like finish it, but I know at some point I have to finish it and publish it, but it's still very rewarding. And like speaking of writing, and horror genre, So,
Hmm.
have you seen Black Mirror?
Yes, I have not seen the new episodes yet, but I have seen the entire series up until now. Yes.
And which season is your favorite?
Oh, I'd say the third one. Oh, I don't remember the name of the episode. It's with Bryce Dallas Howard, and it's a brilliant, brilliant episode that started season three. It's season three, episode one, and I cannot remember the name of it at the moment. But I
Hold
felt
on,
like,
let me see on IMDb. That's right.
yeah, I know, right? I know I should have my IMDb open too. I do. Um, but I felt like I liked season one, I liked season
Mhm.
two, but I felt like season three was when it for me as a viewer, I felt that's when Black Mirror really kind of became the strong, visceral experience that it was. Like, I definitely think they had some very strong moments in season one and season two, but when we hit season three, I really feel like the creators, producers, everybody really kind of hit their stride in season three. And that first episode, did you find the title yet? Because I could look it
Yeah,
up too.
it's saying nosedive.
Nosedive, yes, yes. And so I've actually taught that episode before in television writing classes because it's
Oh,
so well
cool.
written and so the way that the writers create tension on the screen is so well done. And of course the performance by Bryce Dallas Howard is just masterful in many ways. But yeah, that was my favorite season. I think three really was the one that I go back to, obviously as a teacher, but um, as a writer, I really liked the episodes in season three. I felt it was really all of them were really done very well and very powerful seasons in it too. Are you a big Black Mirror fan? Do you like the show?
Yeah, I love it. It's a lot of fun.
It
I think my favorite
is.
season
I mean,
is five but that's only
season
because of
five.
yeah, solely because of Miley. I'm kind of biased.
Are you a Miley Cyrus fan?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, I love her too. Yeah, she was great in that. That was a really good episode too. I thought that was definitely the best episode of season five. But yeah, it's such a great show. I love that it's like, the anthology series style that they do is so clever. Of each episode sort of a standalone in a really cool way. But there are like threads that kind of connect some of the series together or the episodes together too, which is really interesting. There's a lot of theories out there uh how each episode is sort of connected to a different episode within the Black Mirror world, which is kind of cool. The
And like
mythology of Black Mirror.
and I wouldn't think that this season
Hmm.
could own top the Miley Cyrus episode for me. But the
Hmm.
first episode, like not the first, but the Beyond the Sea, it's called, with
Hmm.
Aaron Paul, and that like wow, like that one really topped it for me.
Really? Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see it. I've not
It's
started
so
season
good.
six. You're talking about.
I don't know if you have watched the movie Reminiscent
Mm-mm. I've
with
heard of it, but I've not seen it.
Mark Wahlberg and Rebecca
Hmm.
Ferguson,
Hmm.
and it's very similar to that one,
Hmm.
but also to something else. I'm not going to spoiler here.
Would you recommend Reminiscence, like the movie, to watch it?
Mm, yes and no. Yes,
Oh,
because it's like it's 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 a great concept, but no,
mhm.
because it's it gets kind of like boring at some point
No, that's
towards I
honest.
think
That's honest.
the second act,
Hmm.
and but it's still cool because you don't really know which is like reality and which is not, and which is like fiction. More like Mark Wahlberg's like kind of like false memory, should I say, without spoiling. So
Hmm.
it's still a lot of fun, but it's still kind of boring.
No, that's very honest. I
But
appreciate
but
the honest
but
review.
the twist is good. Like the twist was like
Oh,
I
good.
was like, what the fuck?
Oh, good. Well, I'm gonna definitely check out season six of Black Mirror. I'm so excited to see it. I've been finishing up my next book, which is a horror novel, and so I've been doing nothing but writing. So I haven't got to see a lot of TV for a couple of weeks, but it's almost done, so then I can start to catch up on all my TV shows, including Black Mirror.
What else are you planning on catching up?
Um, well, I watch a lot of shows. I watch a lot of shows with like female. For some reason, I watch a lot of stuff, probably because I write a lot of female centric stuff. But um, to give you an idea, some of the shows that I absolutely love. Well, on the comedy side, I really love Abbott Elementary. I don't know
Oh
if
my
you've
God,
seen it,
me
but
too.
it's a great.
I just
Yeah.
start watching season 2,
Hmm. And
and it's so good. Like
I'm a really big yeah.
I scream at the tone, like the tone deafness of the of the
Yeah.
principal.
The principal, oh, she's hilarious. Yeah. Do you know the reality TV show Big Brother, the
Yeah,
American version? So I'm a big fan of that, which is not a written show at all. Um, I
I
really love it, the show called Dead to Me with Christina. Oh my God, I'm blanking on her name. Christina Applegate. There we go. Christina Applegate. That's a great show.
I've not watched
Do
it.
I really love so there's two shows on HBO that I absolutely love. One is called Somebody Somewhere, which is with Bridget
Okay.
Everett, who I absolutely adore. And then the other one is Hacks with Gene Smart.
Oh,
And
I
it's
know that, but I
both of
haven't
those
watched it
are
yet.
they're like the best shows on television next to Abbott Elementary for sure. Those I absolutely love. Those I have to catch up on. Um, I really like Firefly Lane. I don't know if it's a Netflix show, but
I
it
know,
got
but I haven't
canceled after
watched
two
it yet.
seasons. I'm so bummed that they always cancel the good ones.
Yeah.
There's a really wonderful show called Young Royals. I don't know if
Oh,
you
I
know
know
Young
that,
Royals.
but I
Yeah,
haven't
it's
watched it.
about
My
two
sister
boys in
watches it.
school.
She
Yeah, I
used to
love
watch
it.
it.
It's very similar to a lot of the books I write for young people, so I really like it a lot. But those are pretty much the shows that I've been watching lately. But there's so many other ones that like the morning show on Apple TV. I love that one a lot. But a lot of shows that I like, they only last for like a couple of seasons because they don't get enough viewers and then they go
Mhm.
away. And so I'm always trying to tell people, watch this show so it doesn't get canceled because I love it. But it's hard for sure because you start just when you start to like something, then they take it off the
And
air.
then it's get like it's get chopped by
Yeah,
Netflix
exactly.
mostly.
I know it is true. I know Netflix is known for that for sure. Um,
I'm surprised you didn't mention Succession.
mention which one? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Succession.
Succession. I haven't seen Succession. Everybody tells me I need to watch it, but I
I'm
did you watch
shocked.
because I know you're in Austria. Did you watch Dark, the Netflix
Yeah,
show Dark? That was so good. Did you love it? I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I was
it
like
was a lot
hooked.
of fun, but I
Yeah.
watched it like, but the spin-off. But basically, I don't remember which season, but I don't
Mhm.
remember finishing it. But I the spin-off got like canceled.
Oh, I didn't know they had a spin up. I don't know if we got that here, but um there was a lot of comparison to Dark
You're frozen.
and Stranger
I
Things, and
did
I loved how it played around with the different timelines and the different years. So, all good stuff.
Yeah, I'm so excited for season 5, to be honest, like Stranger Things.
Yes, yeah, I know it's a very compelling show. I'm a huge Winona Ryder fan, so I grew up watching all of her movies, and so I was so excited to see her, on a TV series, streaming show, because she's really a great actress, and that whole cast is really, really. I kind of
Yeah,
grew up in front of our eyes because they started in season one, they were so young, and now they're all grown up and they're adults now, which is kind of exciting. But I was a teenager in the '80s, and so watching a lot of those episodes takes me back to um, being in high school, going to the mall, and just kind of things that you did in the '80s, which was a lot of fun.
or in the 90s. I'm a 90s baby.
Yeah. And the soundtrack, I love the music on Stranger Things. There's such great music and, you know, obscure music from the '80s that you sort of get to rediscover every time you watch the show. It's a lot of fun.
I want to ask you, are you a Marvel or a DC person?
I am a DC person. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
a huge Wonder Woman fan,
same,
Superman, Batman,
same.
Supergirl, who was just introduced in the new version of The Flash. So
Those
yeah,
weren't.
definitely.
I